Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Money, Sex, and God. This is Genevieve, and I'm excited for a very, very important, powerful, potent conversation today that I know is going to affect so many of you. So, as you're coming on, do me a favor and share where you are watching from. Say hello. Let us know how you're feeling in your body, what's arising for you. And then as my guest starts to speak about their experiences and about some of their expertise, make sure to comment with any questions or anything that's coming up as you watch, because I promise you, this is going to be a conversation that you're not going to want to miss. I'm very, very, very excited to be able to openly have this conversation on money, sex, and God, especially because those of you that know me know I love dismantling taboo subjects, the whole purpose of money, sex, and God. So without further ado, I would love to intro our guest, who I've known for a while and can say firsthand that this woman has the expertise, has the embodiment, and the skills of what she's putting out in the world. So without further ado, Gina, Garris, can you tell us a little more about yourself? Thank you for coming on, love.
Yeah, thanks for having me. What a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I work with mostly women. I always say a few lucky men. The shame and stigma around herpes, sexual health, body image, and basically kind of a fear of sex in general. And so that is the gift that I get to bring to the world, to help people realize that we have access to all the freedom and all the hot, juicy sex that is available in all of the forms that we show up in.
Beautiful. Thank you for that really important work. I'm really happy that you're here on the planet doing that. I'd love to hear a little bit. So something that, we don't talk about, and it's why I was so excited to bring you on, is that like now we're just now starting to talk about sex. The erotic blueprints have been out in the world, which I love, but there's still this kind of hush hush around STIs and any sexually transmitted things and health in general around sexual transmitted diseases, and infections. And I also want to say, like, there's a level of kind of naive energy around this with most sex coaches, and it's why I went to you to ask questions. I always go to you to ask questions because I know about your expertise in the subject. So tell us a little bit about like the climate of sexual health nowadays, and what's appearing, and what you feel is important for people to understand about that world.
Yeah. So one thing that I love to say is, like, if you've never seen a person with herpes, now you have.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think my passion is to help people really just have a conversation around it. And I when I think about sexual health, I think around how often we disown parts of our bodies for fear of this unknown. And because sexual health isn't talked about in a, I would say, positive way, it's more around don't get something, don't do this, instead of a like, wow, who am I sharing my body with? And what do I know about my own body? So when I think about talking about sexual health, it's around really fully knowing yourself. And I love the conversation of sexual health as a filter.
Yeah, say more about that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. When I have a conversation with a new lover around sexual health, the way that they engage with me is so key to give me information around, do I want to engage my energy with this person?
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, that's really powerful. Can you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, how did you get to this place of really wanting other people to open up around sexual health? Like, what were there moments for you where you really got to understand like the necessity of this in the world?
Yeah, my story was interesting. I was in a long-term relationship, and about 6 years in, we both woke up with like tingling sensations. And he went and was confirmed that he had HSV2, which is genital herpes.
Right.
And I went and was not. They're like, you don't have it.
Mm.
And my body was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm having these sensations.
Right.
And I'm having these experiences. And it didn't really affect me in that moment because I was in this relationship with this person. I mean, we had kind of I won't lie, I had the like, well, what the hell? Like, we were monogamous at the time. So it was like, what's going on here? Right. And so I don't think I found the importance of it until that relationship ended. And then I put myself back into the world of sexuality. And in that, I went to probably about 6 doctors who said, you don't have it.
Wow.
Like, you don't have it. And then I found out there's a blood test that you can take. And indeed, I had HSV1, which is oral, HSV2, which is genital, and I've never had a genital outbreak.
Wow.
And so brand new information for me. And so I had to start disclosing because that's what I choose to do.
Right.
And so the journey for me was mostly what I hear a lot, which is there's so much information out and it's so ambiguous. I don't understand. There's an antibody thing and you have it, but you don't have it, and you can give it, but you can't give it. And how do you give it? And so I just started really diving in, and out of the blue, people just started coming to me and sharing that they also had it and that they didn't want to have sex. They didn't want to do things. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, I have amazing life.
Speak more about that. So let's, I mean, just going into that story of, there's a few points that I think are really important. One is that you knew your body.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Often, and you knew that something was going on. And so you allowed it to continue to speak to you until it was confirmed. Because then you got to find your empowerment in it. You got to find the place where you could go and stand in your power around it and feel that confidence. And now you have an incredible sex life. Mm-hmm. So how has having herpes, let's talk first about like, what are some of the, and eventually I want to get to the places of how it makes your sex life awesome, but starting with like, how does that make it, like, what is it all perceived fear that our sex lives are going to suck if we contract an STI? Is it the shame? Like, what is it that bogs people down so much about having an infection?
I feel like I think it's the stigma around it, but it's the rejection. So there's a lot of not nice people that respond really cruelly when there's a disclosure. Right? And so because we all here and we're all on our own different journey of owning our bodies and owning our sexuality, and there's so much shame and stigma in the world around sex in general, when you add something that has been portrayed into the world as dirty or disgusting, or that must mean you have, a lot of partners, or there's a stigma of the slut and the whore around a woman who might have herpes. And so I think that it's this kind of layers of shame, layers of this fear of rejection, which I think a lot of people have in general. The sadness of feeling like, someone may not want to love me because I'm broken or dirty. And so it's unraveling all of that. And there's so much fear about just having the conversation because of the fear of rejection.
So then how do you recommend people have the conversation?
Yeah, it's such a tender thing. I really feel like there's no right way and there's no wrong way, because we're all different and we're all in a different level of ownership of our bodies and our sexual health. So for me, I'm very, Aries. I'm like, hi, my name's Gina. I have herpes. Right? That's my way, because I love it as my filter. If I get a like, wow, tell me about that. Oh, cool. I got to lean in. If I get something like, oh God, disgusting, gross, I'm like, oh, next. Right? I'm not going to waste my time. Although, because I'm an educator and I'm passionate about sharing it, I will often try and educate someone, like, oh, tell me what's gross about it. Have you ever had an infection? Have you ever had the flu? Have you ever had a cold? Like, it's a virus.
Yeah.
And it's a little skin disease, which can cause an inconvenience once in a while. It can be really painful at times physically. And for the most part, there's nothing that is harmful around having herpes. So that's my way. But to me, what we have to do is start to talk about it, and that is how we help heal the shame. And the biggest fear around talking about it is I'm going to be judged that I'm bad, dirty, wrong. I sleep with a bunch of people. I'm going to be rejected. And then there's some strange thought that you can never have sex again. So, in the work, as you know, you can have so much sex without having like genital contact or genital penetration. So there's like, it's such a mess. Of course we can have sex.
Yeah, I love that you spoke about that filtering mechanism, right? And just how much like there's just not, we don't, so all that most of society knows about STIs is like you go to the doctor and then you have it or you don't, right? You have one or you don't. And the intricacies, even, I mean, the reason we got so close is because I got a virus and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I mean, I've been a sex coach for over 15 years and I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, what does this mean? And I couldn't Google anything. The doctors made no sense. Like it was such a weird thing too, of like, how do we talk about this with my lovers, with the people, like, what do we have to do? And we go into this place of major shame and fear rather than, I love that you talked about like an acceptance and an ownership and an embodiment of your body, almost as if like an STI is simply like the way that you have like, a scar on your vulva. It's the same. Absolutely. It's like, boop, like there it is, right? Like, or like, when I gave birth, I tore. It's the same type of conversation.
Totally. Yeah. I really feel like for so many people, if they are willing to embrace it, it can be the beginning. Like, I feel like it's the beginning of living because you have this thing that needs to be talked about. And need is a big word, right? It's a choice. And if we go into the space of consent, which is so important, I know for you and I, absolutely. So many people I work with weren't given the choice to receive the virus. Right? And so it's like, okay, well, I want to tell someone, but I'm afraid they're not going to like me. I'm afraid they're going to reject me. And so if I don't tell them, then maybe magic will happen and it won't, I won't pass it on. So it's so delicate. It's such an interesting thing, but I love looking at it as fully owning yourself. And then the more people can talk about it, the more all of us actually, right? Like, I love to share people who don't have herpes to be like, are you talking about your sexual health? And do you know what would happen if someone came to you who you're totally into, who's like, oh, by the way, I have this.
Yes.
Do you know what your answer would be? Would it be like, whoa, I need to think about it? Or would it be, oh, I've done all my research and I'm not really willing to take the risk, but man, I love being with you. Or, oh, yeah, cool, no big deal. Let's just use as much precaution as we can. Like, can you feel them coming on? Have you had an outbreak? How often do you have it? Right? So someone who doesn't have herpes, being the person having the conversation, isn't always around I'm a no.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is something that people who have been diagnosed with, they don't know. The other thing I really want to share is the statistics that 80% of people who have genital herpes don't know it because we don't get tested. So my urge to anyone watching on the replay is please go get tested, and you specifically have to ask for the HSV testing, because when you go get just tested, it's not one of the main ones they test for.
Because so many people have it,
Because
probably.
so many people it's so common. It's so
Okay.
common. 80% of people have HSV1 on the lips, the
Right.
oral, but 50% of new genital herpes diagnoses is HSV1 on the genitals.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, what do people, so there's such a freak out, right? Around there's a general societal freak out. And it feels a little bit like, I don't know, when I go to the doctor and I get my like, they give me where I'm clean, where I'm not. It
Yeah.
feels kind of like you want to get a gold star, right?
Totally.
You want to like, right? So I think some of the freak out is like, I want to be clean and pure,
Yes. I
right?
totally agree. I
Right?
totally agree. And I think that's why a lot of people don't get tested, because they're like, it's so much easier to just be ignorant and to not know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even when the doctors told me, I knew. And the doctors told me over and over and over and over, if you've never had an outbreak, you don't have it. I have to do a swab. I have to see a physical thing. And that's just not true. And that is how it can get transferred even more, because there's people who literally don't know. So it's unconscious.
Right.
And let's go get tested.
And there's also like this, there's also especially in the polyamorous community, which is very interesting, is there's definitely like that gold star gets carried in conversations, right? So someone who's clean in the polyamorous community will flaunt it, like yes, and I'm totally clean, and there's a better than feeling that starts to happen.
And honestly, honey, that feeds the stigma. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not dirty. Like, I'm not dirty and I'm not broken. I have a skin disease.
Right.
And so, like the whole word of clean, when someone's like, oh, I'm clean, I have a clean bill of health, it is insinuating and adding to the stigma that I am dirty, and I am not dirty, and I am not wrong.
Right.
Right. So even just the language that we have around it can definitely be cleared up. And I love that someone has a clear bill of health, right? Yeah. I like the word clear better.
I love it. Thank you. It's awesome. Like, I feel this feels so fucking important. So like, I'm so glad that you're saying this, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah. I still really feel like we all need more education. We all need to know, and we all need to talk about it. Like, well, I love it when we're talking about like orgies, like, well, how are we going to handle that? Yeah. Someone has HSV1, someone has HSV2. What's the container? Is there going to be play between each other? Is there I'm going to refrain? Can you just solidly know what's true for you and why? Because I think having the why is a really great thing. I have to have a clear thing to feel whole, or
right.
Knowing your why around sexual health is a beautiful, deep work. Like, it's deep spiritual work, in my personal opinion.
Speak more on that. That's great.
Well, I view my body as my temple. And so the more that I know around my body, right? Like, Genevieve, you're so good. Like, how do you get your body fed, your nervous system fed, right? Like, herpes is a virus. It actually lives in the nervous system. So when our nervous systems are like, oh, right, then they can pop out more. They can cause more, I don't know, inconvenience, potentially. That's what I call it. When someone has an outbreak, it's just an inconvenience, right? When you have food poisoning and you're shitting and you're puking, you don't want to have sex. Right. It's inconvenient, but you're not bad. You're just, right? So to me, knowing your body and feeding it with things that won't inhibit outbreaks, or just treating it as a temple and knowing it so well that you can feel, something's not right down in my genitals. Oh, I need to tune in. What have I been eating? What have I been doing? Did I wash my dildo before I put it in last time? Like, where were we? Like, taking care of your body, to me, is a deep spiritual practice. And knowing that is the first one around what works for me, what doesn't. What are my yeses? What are my nos? What are my wants, willing, and won'ts? And that, to me, is just so important, to be able to have a really full conversation with a potential lover.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
I love that. I have I've had for years mono that became a chronic illness and started to live in my liver. Here's the story of it, right? And
Mhm.
and that the symptoms will only arise when my nervous system is freaked out,
Yeah.
right? And so I
Yeah.
haven't had a symptom, which the symptom is like fever and you can't move and it's like really inconvenient. Like talk about inconvenient. Like you're
Yeah.
like covered in blankets, like everything hurts. Um, and I haven't had any symptoms pop up in about 6 months because
Yeah.
I have a daily process. And
Yeah.
there was a year where it was literally every day. Because rather than looking inward, and I think you'd agree with this, rather than looking inward, I kept
Mhm.
going to all the doctors and
Yeah.
seeking and seeking and seeking and being like, someone fix me, someone fix me, someone fix me, get this out of me. So I was rejecting the thing, right?
Right.
And now
Yeah.
I'm in this space of like, oh, cool, I have this like weird thing that
Yeah.
lives in my liver and like fun, I get to check in with it. And like when it starts to flare up, I need to go to my self pleasure practice or however else I need to decondition my nervous system in that day, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes like I've come to such gratitude for it because
Mhm.
without it, and you may feel the same way about a herpes outbreak, without it, you wouldn't have a barometer.
Right. Yeah, there's something so profound when someone owns it. When they're like, "Whew, yep." And then we can de-ravel the stories around how they received it. It was given to them without consent. You
Yeah,
know, a lot of
yeah,
people say, what is the gift of, what is the gift of this? What's the gift that's arising? And in that, we have to de-ravel our beliefs around society telling us we're wrong, broken, or, you're sick, you can't do things, right?
yeah.
So the unraveling, and that's why I think it's such deep spiritual work. Herpes can be the beginning to someone really fully stepping in and living their life
Mm.
just by the ownership and the de-raveling all the belief systems around what it means to be someone with herpes.
Yes, yes, that's
Mhm.
so beautiful. And I've had
Mhm.
a very similar experience, and I love um, I love that shift into a gift, right? It's so I think what's so fascinating to me is this for whatever reason I had it in my head before and I think this is part of the gift of getting contracting HPV recently, right? Like
Mhm.
part of the gift is that like I literally thought that these things kill you like immediately.
Right.
Like
Yes.
that's the level of like whoa that our society has on them. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna die. Right? Like it's like that level. And I was like, I don't feel like dying right now.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until like talking to you and being like, oh, I'm not dying. Oh, fascinating.
Right.
Oh, okay. Like this
Yeah.
is so it's like what the fuck is the big fear? Right. And are there, I think here's where you can give us a little bit of logic and like groundedness around it. Like, what are the actual concerns, if any, of STIs and sexually transmitted thingamajiggies?
Yeah.
Is there any actual real concerns that we need to worry about other than inconveniences?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so the big ones, chlamydia, gonorrhea, HIV, you can die from.
Right.
Those are also, well, chlamydia and gonorrhea are curable. So you can go get antibiotics or go get different drugs and actually like cure those. HSV, the herpes simplex virus, it is not curable because it's a virus.
Right.
HSV2, the genital kind, there's actually nothing that can happen. There's no rare forms of death or anything. There
Okay.
happens to be 3 rare forms with HSV1, which is oral, that could lead, like, on a very rare path that could lead to some sort of fatal thing. But I don't know numbers in my head. I don't do numbers. So
Right.
it's a very rare, but it's actually the HSV1 oral like that actually is more accepted,
Yes.
less stigma. And I mean, and the truth is, I don't want to say more deadly to scare people, but it has the path that can go to a really damaging place, and the genital form, it doesn't, but the stigma.
It's just because it's on your genitals, right? Like that's our society being like, genitals, no. Right?
So sad. It's so sad. So, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's so interesting, and I would just love to invite everyone, is like, how do you feel about it? Do you yourself are like, ooh, herpes, little, and which is great, but I want you to know why. Why do you feel that way? Yeah. Right? I love Betty Dodson. She, I think she's in her late 80s, early 90s now. Beautiful sexual leader. She said in the 70s, it was this thing of like, wait, you don't have herpes? What's going on? Like, it was almost like you were weird, or you were the outcast if you didn't have herpes in the late 60s, early 70s, until Big Pharma came with the suppressant medicine. Right. So that is such an interesting thing. And I don't really want to get into the politics around it, but the stigma came from the campaign that we must suppress this thing.
Wow.
Right. And so that's when she said, and I love her because she's been a sexual, educator for 40, 50 years. She saw, like, she literally was like, wait, you don't have herpes yet? Well, we should go have sex. And then, when the suppressant meds came in, she was like, oh my gosh. Then it was like this anti-herpes campaign almost.
Wow. That's so fascinating. It's totally, I mean, this comes back, this loops back around to how revolutionary it is to actually just claim the wholeness of who the fuck you are. Like, totally claim all of what's going on, claim your shadows, claim the shit that you're scared of, claim, claim it all. And how that is like 180-degree difference from how society wants us to be seen. So when we start to claim it, we're actually doing a really revolutionary act, right? Which is just gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah. What else would you like the viewers to know? Anything else on your heart to share about all this?
I think I just would love to invite everyone who's watching to just take a few minutes to really dive into, do I feel like I know my body well enough? Like, what's my relationship with my body? No shame if you're like, no, Gina, I don't. Genevieve and I are here, right? It's like, great, let's take you on a little journey to get to know your temple. And then the other thing is what are your thoughts and beliefs around sexually transmitted infections and diseases, and what do you know and what do you not know, and where do you stand, right? Because if someone does have a clear and they're like, I wish to not participate with someone, great. And do you have the skills to share lovingly? Oh my gosh, thank you for telling me. I'm going to choose to not share genital boost with you, but I'd be willing to do all sorts of other things with you, right? Or maybe I wouldn't, maybe it's like, thank you for sharing with me because I'm going to use my sacred no right now. And I'd still love to share a conversation with you. Because when we know what's true for us, then we can clearly communicate it with love and with kindness.
That's beautiful, Gina. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's just such a potent, gorgeous conversation. I can't wait to share it with all the tribes and make sure that they hear these messages. If anyone wants to dive deeper in this with you and work deeper with you, where can they find you? What are you up to?
Yeah, so my website is blisscoach.com, BLISS coach, blisscoach.com. And I'm offering anyone in your tribe 30 minutes.
Amazing. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So I can totally pull a link up on to a little appointment calendar thingy.
Great. Yeah, we'll do that. So we'll share this into the tribe. We'll get you up. I think, I highly recommend Gina's work and what she's helping us reclaim. Just the wholeness is so yummy. And I've learned so much from you from this conversation, and I'm looking forward to continue to learn and continue to share. So thank you, sweetheart, for
Yeah.
reclaiming your temple and offering us to do the same. Please share, those of you that have watched, please share what's coming alive for you in this conversation. If you have questions, you can tag Gina, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer. Awesome. Yeah. All right, everyone. Enjoy your afternoon. Bye.
Bye.